can take out those notes that you got on the way in. And tonight, we're gonna look at dating and relationships. So dating is like the wild, wild west in 2026. I don't know if anybody has experienced that in their life. It's kind of crazy out there. And it's really the number one issue that I hear about for young adults here at Radiant. I get questions all the time, like, how do I meet someone? Where do I meet someone? How do I know if the one that I met is the one for me? And should I want to get married this bad? Or am I gonna be single forever? I get that one a lot. Am I gonna be single for the rest of my life? And so with all these questions, we're gonna be able to look to the Bible about how the Bible speaks to this. And here's a little spoiler alert. The Bible doesn't say anything about dating. It doesn't. It's not a biblical concept, but I believe there's principles that we can find throughout the scripture that helps inform your dating life in your 20s and your 30s, because I believe that when you boil down dating to the core, I know it might seem complex, but it's actually very simple. And I think the dating world kind of gets a bad rap because of some of the experiences that we've had in the middle of it, but I really don't think we have a dating problem in 2026. I don't. I think there's other problems that we're navigating, but I don't think there's a dating problem. So tonight I want to look at what I believe is the number one problem when it comes to the concept of dating and relationships in 2026. And we're gonna be in Genesis chapter 13. We're gonna look what the Bible has to say about this problem that we're gonna navigate tonight. So anybody have their Bibles with them tonight? Oh, come on, I love it. I love when people have physical Bibles with them. So Genesis chapter 13, we're gonna be in verse 5, and I'm telling you, there's nothing about dating in this thing. I'm gonna give it to you on the front. There's no dating you'll find in this, but there is something that I believe will shape your relationships this year if you apply it to your life. So we're gonna look at Genesis 13, chapter 5, and it says, now Lot, say Lot. Lot, who was moving with Abram, say Abram. Abram is Lot's uncle. Abram later becomes Abraham. It says also they had flocks and herds and tents, but the land could not support them while they stayed together, for their possessions were so great they were not able to stay together. And quarreling, say quarreling. It's just a fun word. I love saying quarreling. Arose between Abram's herds and Lot's. The Canaanites and the Perizzites were also living in the land at that time. Continues, it says, Abram said to Lot, let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between your herders and mine, for we are close relatives. Is not the whole land before you? Let's split up, let's part company. And look at this last line, it says, if you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left. And that's where the cha-cha slide was invented, right there by Abram. Right there. No, it's a decision that Abram gives to Lot to be able to make in the middle of it. He leaves the decision in Lot's hands, which leads me to the title of my message tonight. Check yes or no. Check yes or no. Now, as a young adult navigating our 20s or 30s, dating can feel really complex and complicated. But can I take you all the way back to elementary school? Where it's a little bit more simple. You remember a little bit of like, you started the dating world, you saw a girl that you like, and it's like, she likes chocolate milk, I like chocolate milk. Or they like to play on the monkey bars, I like to play on the monkey bars. They eat glue, I eat glue, and you have a connection that's built there. And then what did you do when you got that connection with somebody as an elementary school student? What did you do? You wrote one of these. Remember these? Oh, the love notes. You remember these love notes that you would write? I talked to my wife. She actually got one of these love notes in the 7th grade. It's the first time somebody ever asked her out was one of these love notes, and she checked no. That's brutal. Oh, I felt so bad for the guy. Check no on it. But we'd write these love notes, and I don't know if you remember writing any of them, but I brought a couple of them from some kids that I think would be funny tonight. So we're gonna look at a couple of them for us. So let's look that first one up. It says, do you like me? Yes or no? Look at the reply. It says, I don't know. I don't know myself yet. Plus, I'm under a lot of stress at home, so I can't tell. And P.S., you don't really know yourself until you're 18. And some of you are proving that it's way later, even right now. Look at that. Let's go to the next one. Relationships are hard because there's even some breakups right here. It says, Sean, I'm breaking up with you. You have not talked to me since the day you asked me out. That was 3 months ago, Sean. You need to get it together or you will never get married, and that would be sad. Look how she signs it off. You should get married, just not to me. Love Rachel. Isn't that so sweet? The last one we got is from Ashley. It says, "Dear Ashley, would you be my girlfriend? I like you a lot." He writes the yes, no, maybe, and we can already see the answer. She said no. That's so sad. But look, she gives a reply. That's so nice. "I'm sorry, I already have a boyfriend, Kyle. But when we break up, you're my next choice." And P.S., it'll only be a month or two. Come on, Kyle, hold on hope for that. Ashley's coming for it. I love it. You remember those notes? You remember writing those notes? You remember receiving those notes? Do you remember the stress it would be if you wrote one of those notes, you saw somebody that you liked and you wrote it to them, and the stress that you would be under when you not gave it to them, you gave it to your friend who would then walk across the room, and you're looking at the face of the person you like, and you're just studying like, oh, are they gonna say yes or no? What's the checkbox that they're gonna mark? And finally they mark one and they bring it back to you, and you were either excited or you were devastated. And it might seem silly now, years later after the fact, but I believe that dating in our young adult years actually is missing a component that we got right when we were elementary school students. Because decision making is the biggest problem that's facing us in the dating world in 2026. We don't decide anymore. You think we've missed out on the moment of commitment. You get on an app, you swipe left or right on 100 different people, you have conversations with 10 of them, you might go out with a few of them, you might get nervous that I sit across from the table, I don't know if I picked the right one, maybe I swiped wrong on somebody, maybe I should go back and look, and then you start the process all over again. You don't commit to anything. Or maybe you're not an app person, maybe you're bigger than the apps, that's fine. You might meet somebody at church and you might have a connection and sparks fly. And you check your DMs and you got a couple on the line in the DMs. And you're like, I don't know, should I go with this person or should I try with the DMing of this person? And then you ghost one of them to be able to go with the other. And then that person ghosts you and you're frustrated and you're upset and you're like, what in the world? And dating's the problem. We have somebody to blame for this. So either we gotta blame guys for all the issues, or you gotta blame girls for all the issues, or maybe it's just dating in general for the issues. But here's the thing. I don't think we have a dating problem. Dating's not the problem. Deciding is. It's true. Dating isn't the problem. We have a decision-making problem. And more specifically, we don't have the ability to make a decision. And it's the curse of a world where we're constantly connected. You've got to think, you're here in 2026, you find yourself single and available. You are living in a time and an era where you have more people that you could date than ever before. It's true, the pool is so big. There's so many fish in the sea. But for some reason, you find yourself going on less and less actual quality dates. Why? Have you ever been to the Cheesecake Factory? Right? You ever been to the Cheesecake Factory? A classy establishment, number one, a classy establishment, but their menu is the longest book that I've read this year. And there's so many different things in it. And me and my wife were at the Cheesecake Factory, because I take her out to nice places, come on, the Cheesecake Factory, and we're there, and she's between two different things on the menu. She's between the orange chicken and the buffalo chicken flatbread. I'm like, how do you have Chinese and Italian in the same spot? She's back and forth between them, and she's talking to the waitress, and she finally decides. She's like, I'm going with the orange chicken. It's great. Waitress takes the order, goes to walk away, and she's like, wait. You know what? I want the buffalo chicken flatbread. Waitress is like, okay. So she writes down the buffalo chicken flatbread, goes to walk away again. My wife goes, wait. I want the miso salmon. How about the salmon? Do that. It's like, wait a second. Why all the flip-flop? Why all the back and forth? It's because there's too many options. And when you have too many options in your life, you decide on none. Because when you have too many options, it paralyzes your decision making. And my worry is that too many of us are missing out on the possibility of great, God-honoring relationships, not because you have zero options, but because you have way too many and you can't make a decision. Now, I know what the pushback is right there. Jordan, you don't know how dry my DMs are. I swipe on everybody and nobody swipes on me. I hear the pushback. I'm not saying that the people aren't there, or I'm saying there's too many people out for you. I'm saying our brains and our hearts were not created to swipe on people over and over again and give our hearts to the possibility that every 3 or 4 I could build a life with. And I see another one and I'm like, well, what if that person is the one for me? Or what if that person is the one for me? And we weren't created to look at our DMs. And every time somebody pops up, we're wondering if it's one of the 4 that we flirted with that day and just hoping for it. Our hearts weren't meant to handle that. Our hearts were made for commitment. We're made to make a decision. And here's the thing that also worries me, is that you'll miss out on one option because you're afraid that a better one will come along and you'll miss out on that person instead. Look what the scriptures warn us about this in Ecclesiastes chapter 11. It says, whoever watches the wind, look at this, will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. And this is my fear for the young adults of Tampa Bay as you're searching for the one. You know the one that you've been looking for. I'm looking for the one that'll sweep you off your feet, the one where sparks will fly. The universe has one person picked out for you. There'll be butterflies, you'll fall in love, you'll live happily ever after, and all the other romantic stuff that you see in movies. I'm looking for the one. And you're searching through all of your different options, desperately seeking for the one, the needle in the haystack, the one that stands out above them all. My wife and I, we got married at 22 and 20. We were young. We were babies. And hear my heart on this. I don't actually think that we were the one for each other. I don't believe that. I'm telling you, she had options. I didn't have many options. She had options. She could have picked a lot of people. But we were made the one on June 3rd, 2017. When we said yes to each other in a covenant before God, somebody who could have been A1 became the one. And you can't search over and over and over again looking for the needle in the haystack, the person that is the one. You eventually have to pick A1 and then make them the one. There has to be a decision involved here. Me and my wife didn't fall in love because of vibes or fate or the universe. We fell in love because we made a decision. We chose each other. It wasn't fate, it wasn't vibes, it wasn't the universe, it wasn't butterflies, it wasn't fireworks, it wasn't sparks. Because if our relationship was built on those feelings, eventually the feelings would crumble and you're left with nothing. Because I wrote it down this way, feelings fade, but decisions last. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to get into relationships that are half-hearted, in, out. I don't know if I'm gonna commit to this or not. I'm gonna be led by my feelings through this thing. No, I wanna make my decisions and decide and do it because you don't want relationships built on feelings. You want them built on decisions. I chose that guy. I chose that girl. God put somebody in front of me, but I made a decision to be able to pursue them with what he's put in front of me because I decide to show up and I decide to give of myself. I don't want our relationship built off it just happened. I want decisions to be able to build the foundation of it because I can decide my way into a relationship that ultimately honors God. I want to be able to decide these things because decisions last. And this, I believe, if we can nail down decision-making in your life, it doesn't matter if you're single, it doesn't matter if you're engaged, it doesn't matter if you're married. If you can nail down decision-making, you can nail down healthy relationships this year in 2026. And this is exactly where we find ourselves in our story with Abram and Lot. Now, if you're familiar with the scriptures, Abram is given a promise from God in Genesis chapter 12 that he will make his offspring like the dust of the earth. He's gonna give him children. He had none at the time. And he was gonna give him a promised land. So Abram leaves home in Genesis chapter 12, travels throughout some different areas, and finds himself in this spot with Lot in Genesis chapter 13, where the herds, the wealth that they had accumulated were too much for the area that they were occupying. So they were given a decision. He gave Lot the decision to be able to go in one of two directions. You go one way, I'll go the other. You go this way, I'll go the other. And he puts the decision in Lot's hands. And we're gonna pick up this story in Genesis chapter 13, verse 10. Look what Lot decides to do with that decision. It says, Lot looked around. He saw the whole plain of the Jordan toward Zoar was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. Look at this. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. That's important to be able to remember. So Lot, look at this. He chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out toward the east. The two men parted company. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were wicked. They were sinning greatly against the Lord. But look what the Lord says to Abram after Lot had departed from him. Look around from where you are to the north, the south, to the east, and to the west. All the land you see, I will give to you and your offspring forever. I'll make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Go walk the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you. So Abram went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he pitched his tents. And I believe there are three choices for your healthy relationships in the heart of this passage. We're gonna look at them today. The first choice to be able to build healthy relationships for you is that I choose purity over culture. I do, I choose purity over culture. Look at the decision-making that Lot makes in verse 10. It says he looked around and he saw that the whole plain of the Jordan was well watered. So look, he looks, he sees something nice, he decides based off of what he looked at, and then he sets his life in the direction of what he saw. Now, a couple years ago, my wife and I had decided to do like a little staycation. We would try to go over to Orlando, and I'm always on the hunt for a good deal. I don't know about you, I'm always on the hunt for a good deal. And so I found this one. It was unbelievable that I could stay at this hotel in Orlando, like great hotel, like Disney property in Orlando, this Hilton Hotel, for $200 for 4 nights. Isn't that crazy? $200, 4 nights. There was only one catch. We had to go to a timeshare presentation at some point during the thing. So I tell my wife, and I'm like, hey, I've got this crazy deal. It's gonna be awesome. She's like, what's the catch? It's like, well, it's not really a catch, but you see, we'll spend 3 hours at this timeshare presentation. She's like, no, I don't wanna do that. It's like, I already paid for it. I don't know. We're going. It's gonna be awesome. So we're driving to this timeshare presentation, and we're practicing, because these guys are good. And so I wanna be able to say, hey, no matter what, we're saying no. Like, do you wanna take a seat? No. You want water? No. You want a timeshare? No. We're practicing everything. No, we're practicing. I'm not getting caught up in one of these things. And so we sit across from this guy, and he starts making the pitch of why we should do this timeshare, and we're staying strong. We're like, no. And it's awesome. We're crushing it. He's like, I totally get it. You know what? Let's actually just take a walk, and let's go see what it would look like. I mean, yeah, of course it's a no, but you might as well just like check it out while you're here. We can take you on a little tour. Sweet, let's do it. So he takes us into this place, and I'm telling you, like, this suite was unbelievable. And he's like, just imagine, you're raising kids here. You can open up some of this. It's a full kitchen. It's awesome. You get some of the amenities of the hotel. You open up the blinds, and it's just like a beautiful resort pool down there. It's unbelievable. And he's just like selling this thing, and it's great. And me and my wife kind of look at each other, and we're like, I mean, so if anybody wants to stay in Orlando, July 7th through the 14th, we didn't get the timeshare. We didn't do it. But I'm telling you, if he would have brought us the contract while we were looking at it, we would have been as good as sold in it. And can I tell you what might be the best sales technique in 2026 in the culture around us? Do you know? It's sex. It does. Sex sells. You ever heard that phrase before? Sex sells. And I'm telling you, sex will sell you on so many different areas of your life. Sex will try to sell you happiness. It'll try to sell you fulfillment. It'll try to sell you love. It will sell. But can I tell you, sex can't deliver on those things. It might momentarily give you pleasure. It might momentarily give you love. It might momentarily give you joy. But it can't deliver true fulfillment in your life. You know what actually delivers fulfillment in your life? Purity. It does. And I know what people say. It's like, oh, it's another preacher talking about how I just can't have sex. And I get it. I believe we've done a disservice to the word purity in our culture because we've boiled down purity in Christianity to don't have sex and don't look at porn, and that's purity. That's not true. Purity is a wholehearted devotion to God in every area of my life. It's not allowing the culture around me to dictate how I live my life. It's allowing the Word of God to be able to guide and direct what I look at, how I look at relationships, how I approach other people. It's the Word of God that I'm devoted to. I'm devoted to living a life to God. It's a wholehearted devotion to Him. That's what purity ultimately is. And I believe that we kind of get mixed up in these moments because we make decisions with our eyes that impact everything else around us instead of letting the Word of God direct our steps. Look what it says in 1 Samuel chapter 16. It says, the Lord does not look at things people look at. People look at this outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. So my question for you tonight is, which one is driving your relationship decisions? If God is looking at the heart of the person sitting across from you, why are you just constantly looking up and down their body? I'm not trying to be able to build this off outward appearances because those will crumble and fall. But if I can build it off what God looks at the heart, I can build relationships that last. And I'm telling you that the enemy of your soul would want nothing better in your life, that the potential for a relationship that could develop into a marriage, the second most important decision you'll ever make in your life, he would love nothing more than to erode that before it ever starts by causing you to make decisions with your eyes instead of pursuing the things of God in it. Look at this, it's crazy. In Genesis chapter 13, verse 10 right here. Look what it says. It says, Lot looked around and saw the whole plain of the Jordan was well watered. Look at this, like the garden of the Lord. You know what the garden of the Lord was? Eden. Eden, God's perfect creation. And isn't it just like the enemy? Look at this, that would take something that would be perfect and compare it with looking at their eyes when we know that actually it wasn't the garden of the Lord, it wasn't Eden, it was Sodom. It was something completely wicked to the core. And wouldn't it just be like the enemy to show you something shiny and flashy and attractive and cause you to make decisions to pursue after that thing, not knowing that their core, their heart, they're wicked and they're gonna draw you away from the things of God. And I'm telling you, too many people have made decisions in dating and relationships with their eyes. Because when you prioritize the physical, you miss the moments to be able to prioritize the heart. It messes up your judgment. It messes up your eyes. It messes up your thinking. And instead, we have to be able to figure out ways how we look to the heart of a person to be able to figure out if we can build a life with them. And so how do we do that? We do that through dating. Thank God. He's given us dating to be able to figure out somebody's heart. And what I've realized is that we don't know how to date well. And the reason why we don't know how to date well is we don't know how to start well when it comes to dating. And so I brought something that's hopefully helpful for somebody. Maybe you even use it tonight. I don't know. You can be able to do it. It's how to ask a girl out on a first date. Come on. I think it'll be helpful for you. You ready? How to ask a girl out on a first date. I hope you're taking notes with this because this will be helpful. If you're a guy asking a girl on a first date. Number one, look at this, lead with courage. Please do this in person and not through a DM or through a text message. Please learn how to walk up to a girl, a woman, and ask them out. You gotta lead with courage, okay? Number two, ask with clarity. No, I just wanna kinda hang out. No, I wanna take you to coffee because I'm interested in you and I wanna get to know you. Be clear with it. This is a date. Just say it's a date. Don't hide behind it. Say it's a date. Ask them with clarity. Number three, pursue in conversation. Like, come with questions in advance. You be the one that leads the conversation. Don't let it die and say it's up to her to kind of draw me out. No, you be the way in it. Pursue in conversation. Number four, end with consideration. Be clear in how you end it. Don't tell them you're gonna call them back if you're not gonna call them back. End with their heart and your consideration. Be clear on what next steps are. And then the last one, this is so important. You gotta continue with character. despite the answer, if you like it or not, you're gonna pursue forward with character. I'm gonna be a man of God in this, and I'm gonna go with character, okay? So that's how to ask a girl out. Now, ladies, I know it's 2026, so I wanna give you a list too of how to ask a guy out, okay? Good? Here we go. Oh, this is gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome. Are you ready? This is how to ask a guy out in 2026. Are we ready for this? All right, number one, send him this message and that previous list. Oh, I knew that one would be good. It's true. It's true. All right. I'm gonna choose purity over culture. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pursue purity in this, okay? I choose purity over culture. You ready? Number two, ready for this? I choose patterns over potential. I do, I choose patterns over potential. Look what it says in verse 12. It says, Abram lived in the land of Canaan. Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom. People of Sodom are wicked and sinning greatly against the Lord. Anybody grow up watching Disney movies in the room? Any Disney fans? So our 2-year-old has really gotten into these Disney movies lately. I loved watching the Disney movies growing up. They're really entertaining. But as an adult now, looking through the eyes of a child, I realized the relationship communication in this is so messed up. Like, if you look at Disney on how to model relationships, it is terrible. You ever think about some of these movies? I got a couple for you. What about Beauty and the Beast? Any Beauty and the Beast fans? Beauty and the Beast. Every girl's dream, it starts out with the Beast kidnapping her dad. And somehow she goes and switches out with them. You gotta think this guy is a monster. He has anger issues, mood swings, bad posture. And isn't it just like a girl? I can change him. I know I can. That's what we're communicating here. Okay, that's Beauty and the Beast. What about the Little Mermaid? Any Little Mermaid fans? Yeah, this one's terrible. Ariel builds this entire concept of the relationship when he's unconscious. One moment when he's unconscious and all of a sudden and it has to make a decision in 3 days whether they're gonna be together forever or not. That's terrible. It's a red flag when it comes to relationships. Last one, this might be controversial. It's Aladdin. Any Aladdin fans? Okay, this is the worst one of them all. He lies and says he's a wealthy prince. He can't even afford an undershirt. And the whole thing's built on a lie. Voids telling the truth to her and builds this entire relationship. It's terrible, the red flags that are in them. But here's the thing is, these stories are fictional. And I've heard some of your dating stories. You've ignored a lot worse red flags than the Disney characters to pursue relationships. And this is exactly what Lot does. Look at Genesis chapter 13, verse 12. It says, he lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom, which isn't a big deal. He's living near Sodom. But as you go throughout Genesis, you can see how he goes from living near sin. It's not that big of a deal. He's not in it. He's living near it. But then look what happens in 14:12. It says he carried off Abram's nephew Lot and his possessions. Look at this. He was living, where was he living? In Sodom. He went from outside of the city to living in the middle of the city. And then it gets worse. Genesis 19, where do we find Lot? He was sitting at the gateway of the city, which is Sodom. Look at this. He went from being near it, not that big of a deal. I'm not in it, I'm just near it. Oh, I got caught up in a little bit, so I'm in it now, to eventually being a leader sitting at the gates of the city, inviting other people in. It wasn't just affecting him anymore. It was affecting the people around him. He ignored the red flag in front of him until he became one himself. This is important for us to be able to get because ignoring red flags today leads to regret tomorrow. And you know this to be true. If he's a jerk to the waiter, he'll eventually be a jerk to you. If all she talks about is how her exes are crazy, there's a commonality there. You can't ignore the red flag. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And if you want to date somebody well, examine and evaluate their life. Look at their friendships. Look at the way they carry themselves. Look at the way they operate in public. Look at the way they operate in private. Look at the way they operate with their family. Examine the fruit of their life. Because anybody can put on a smile and raise their hands on a Sunday, but can they go to a small group during the week and work out the issues of their life that constantly are coming up? I'm trying to find fruit in somebody before I go forward in any relationship with them. When it comes to picking somebody to date, to attach your life to, please don't settle for anything less than God's best. Don't dismiss things and throw them to the side, but really examine who they are and pursue their heart because of it. That should be the thing that draws you to them, is their purity of heart. And so we don't want to live in regret and have the red flags come up. And I know you can notice those, you can avoid those, but what would actually be helpful? What would be green flags that we could look for in a relationship? I brought some of those too for you so you can be able to have these for. So what are green flags that I should look for in a relationship? I think these would be helpful for you. Number one, green flag, Christ. That should be number one. Do they follow Jesus? Not do they know Jesus? Not, oh, yeah, they're getting around to it. No, does their life follow Jesus? That should be number one. You want to look for Christ in their life. Number two, cause. That's a good thing. What is their life pursuing? Because the question that you have to answer next, after are they a follower of Jesus, is can our lives align to be able to build something great for the glory of God? Do our causes, the purpose of our life, do they align, or are they going in different directions? So that should be number two. Number three is character. The question you have to ask is, who are they really? And listen, these are in order. So you have to have Christ, number one. You have to have a cause, and then you go, okay, we can align our lives, we can go forward together. Now you have to ask the question, and that's where the examining comes from. Who are they really, behind the scenes? And then number four, this is the one everybody jumps to first, but this is number four, then it's chemistry. How do we interact? And the issue is when you go straight to chemistry and you ignore all of these, the red flags are popping up all over the place here, and you just go, well, we like pickleball together. Does he follow Jesus? These are the things you should look for. Christ, cause, character, chemistry. I believe you can build healthy relationships with it. So what do we do? What are we looking for? Healthy relationships. We're gonna close it here. As I choose purity over culture, I'm gonna choose patterns over potential. And the last choice we have to make for healthy relationships this year, I choose Jesus over everything. I do. I choose Jesus over everything. Because it says in verse 14, it says, the Lord said to Abram, after Lot had parted from him, look around from where you are to the north, the south, the east, and the west. All the land that you see, I'm gonna give to you, your offspring forever. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, oh, there we go, count the dust, and your offspring could be counted. Go walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you. Now, I've probably read through this story in my life, no joke, probably 50-ish times. I've read this through a lot. I've preached on this before. But I don't think I've ever read it through the same lens I did as preparing for a message about relationships and decision-making. Because I've always read that portion of scripture as, wow, God doubled down on his promise to Abram. He gave him the promise in Genesis chapter 12. Abram pursues the promise from God. He ends up having this moment where he splits from Lot, and he ends up at this place in Mamre, and I'm thinking through, this is a joyful moment for Abram. Wow, God has promised me again that I'm gonna have offspring that are throughout the earth, and I'm gonna have a land that will eventually be theirs. And I think it's a joyful moment. But as I was reading it through this time, for some reason, the question kept asking, because the Bible doesn't show emotion here. What if Abram's not excited about this? What if he's frustrated about this? Think about it. Is it possible that Abram isn't acting in joy here? Because he has the promise in Genesis 12. He follows God, but then he goes throughout multiple places trying to pursue the promise of God, And it's closed door after closed door after closed door. Then he finds himself in Genesis chapter 13. His only family around is Lot, besides his wife Sarah. And their possessions grow so great, which is awesome, but then he has to separate from his nephew in the middle of this. And not only does he have to separate from his nephew, Lot takes the best choice of the land. And so Abram's sitting there like, I got a promise from God. I haven't seen any of the results yet. I don't have a single child to my name. I don't have a single acre of land to my name. And God, you're doubling down on it. And look what the actual passage says. Can you throw it back up there really quick? Because he says in verse 17, look at this. I will make. I am giving it to you. It's future. It's not current. I have a promise for you, but not yet. It's like your parents hyping up Christmas every day for weeks and weeks and weeks. You run down the stairs on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and all that's under the tree is an IOU. Be frustrated, hurt, wondering if that's even the direction that I was supposed to go. Is this something that I should even want? He's angry maybe. He's maybe frustrated, in pain. And I've realized it's the same frustration that I hear when I sit across from young adults that are wondering, is this relationship thing ever gonna work out? They've gone month after month after month, and they've desperately, they think like God has somebody for me out there. Hasn't come yet. Another year goes by, another time that you thought it was gonna happen. I had another date, didn't pan out. Frustrating, I feel like this is from God. Hasn't happened yet. Now, I'm not saying that God promises marriage and relationships the same way he promised land and offspring to Abram. But I do believe that if the promise from God is to be fruitful and multiply that we find in Genesis, that I believe there's more relationships and marriage out there than we probably even can navigate ourselves. There's probably more in store. And singleness is a calling, that's great. I love it, I believe in it. But I know that might be the minority and not the majority. And you're frustrated and you're wondering, and the question has to be asked. What do you do in the middle of a frustration where you feel like you might have something from God, but it hasn't happened yet? We should do exactly what Abram did. Genesis chapter 13, verse 18. Look at this. Blew my mind. Abram went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron. He pitched his tents. Look at this. He built an altar to the Lord. Because it's a good decision to choose purity over culture. It's a good decision to choose patterns over potential. But it's the best decision to choose Jesus over everything. Because the best decision Abram ever made was to trust God. Despite the frustration, despite the pain, despite the empty promise that hadn't been fulfilled yet, the best thing, the best decision Abram ever made was to trust God. So the question tonight isn't, am I gonna find the one? Will I find love? Will I ever get married? Will I ever find somebody attractive? Will I ever find somebody funny? Will this ever happen to me? The question you have to ask with your life is, will you trust God? And he puts that decision in your hands. Check yes or no. Will you trust God even when I don't see it? Even when the promise hasn't been fulfilled? Even when I can't see how God is working behind the scenes? The question has to be asked, can I trust God? Because if you can trust God with your life, you can trust him with your relationships. You can trust him in every area. If I can trust God with my life. Last thing, I promise, and we're gonna close. This is mind-blowing to me. Any Bible nerds out there will love this. I'm a Bible nerd, I love this. That passage, can you throw up verse 18 again? Not only did he worship to the Lord, but it says he settled in a place called Mamre. Called Mamre, can you throw up verse 18? I want people to see it. Settled in a place called Mamre, near Hebron. Love it, great. settled in Mamre. There he built an altar to the Lord. So if we look at this story in context, this area is the second choice. Lot picked the area near Sodom, but this is the leftovers that Abram goes to. And he has a moment where he's frustrated, but he chooses to worship God instead, which is amazing. I love that moment that he has. But as you look throughout Genesis, and these moments that happen at Mamre, it gives a completely different context to this passage. Because Abram had to settle in Mamre off of somebody else's decision. I just gotta be there. This is not what I picked, but I'm here. But as you look throughout the rest of Genesis, God met him at Mamre. He told him about Isaac at Mamre in Genesis chapter 18. His son, that would be the fulfillment of the promise. Isaac is actually born in Mamre. Many scholars believe that the first fulfillment of the first part of the promise happens in Mamre. Genesis chapter 21, he has a son named Isaac. And then the most mind-blowing part is that in Genesis 23, his wife Sarah dies. And as he's preparing at Mamre to bury his wife, he has to buy a burial plot for her. So he purchases this piece of land from the people that were living in Mamre. And that piece of land becomes the first parcel of land that the Israelites ever owned in the promised land. God fulfills both parts of Abraham's promise in the place where he settled. And Abram turned his place of frustration into a place of worship. He built an altar to the Lord. And then God turned Abram's place of worship into a place of fulfillment. And so tonight, I don't know what you're currently frustrated with. I don't know what you're angry at God with. But I know that if you lay it down in front of him, if I choose to trust God, if I choose to worship despite my feelings, despite the circumstances, despite the hurt, despite the pain, despite the not knowing what might come next, if I choose to worship anyway, God might take your moment of worship, the moment where you feel frustrated and hurt, but you choose to trust him anyway, and he'll turn it into a place of fulfillment. And I do believe that we serve a God who sees you in your broken moments and brings life, it brings hope, it brings joy. If you choose to trust in him, he'll bring fulfillment for you.